Wow, guys, if you guys didn't notice, we changed locations today. We just felt like filming from a different space. This is our friend's house, and no, I have not moved from my coffee shop. But I wanted to share with you a technique I've been perfecting in the last 2 weeks that made a coffee that was so similar to the siphon, I actually couldn't believe it. And if you guys didn't know, one of my favorite coffees I've ever drank is made from the siphon. So let's get right into it. If you guys are new here, my name is Vincent and I'm the head roaster for Tails Coffee. If you love educational and experimental coffee videos, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification for weekly video updates. So today's technique is actually centered around the Hario switch. It is actually a very simple to use dripper that I had said in my last video that it could actually level up a professional's skill, okay? But it's so easy that even people like Eric, who really sucks at making coffee, can make a great cup of coffee. And I was actually just joking about something about this when I first saw this switch. I even said that maybe if we just filled it up to the top, then Eric could just fill it up with water and then put the grinds in, and boom, he could just drain it, stir it, and make a great cup of coffee. Well, little did I know, that technique is actually amazing. So let me talk about why it's so great and how it actually works. So we're gonna first start with what the actual method and technique is. So we're gonna be doing 20 grams of beans, 260 grams of water. It is a 1:13 ratio. As usual, we're gonna first rinse our paper filter once we've set it. We're gonna grind our beans, 20 grams of beans, and then we're gonna throw out the excess water, and then we're gonna actually close the concoction, have the switch on, and then we're gonna fill this thing to 260 grams of water. And none of the water will be flowing through because we've got the switch on. And then from there, we're gonna add the 20 grams of beans, we're gonna stir everything in within 40 seconds. After 40 seconds, we hit the switch, and everything will just flow. Pretty easy, right? So let's talk about why this is actually such a great cup of coffee. So similar to the siphon, we actually have all the water in the device first before we pour the grinds in. And so if we don't actually stir the grinds in, they just kind of stay floating on the top. Now, unlike your traditional pour, which actually starts from the bottom, when I do brew the coffee, the grinds actually stay floating in the middle of the device, and it never really sinks until I stop stirring or when it stops swirling. And this is actually a very important thing to notice. So with my normal single pour technique, we always have the grinds at the bottom of the filter and we pour our water into it. Now we always start gently in the middle and kind of just work our way out as we want to push all the grinds down. Now, pushing grinds down actually causes a lot of agitation, and as with what I just said, it pushes the grinds down, which means all the grinds are always going to be at the bottom of the funnel, at the bottom of the filter when it's draining. Now with the Hario switch technique, or as what I'm gonna call it, the stall the fall, right? We're gonna be stirring and it keeps all the grinds just in the middle of the chamber, in the middle of the V. And what happens there is none of the grinds are actually at the bottom when I turn the switch on. So when the water flows, none of the grinds are hindering. And now why this is really cool is, because if you guys imagine, right, in a normal single pour technique, the water and all the flavors and all the oils actually has to not just pass through the filter, but it has to pass through the grinds as well. Now that's 20 grams worth of coffee beans that's going to be reabsorbing some of the flavors and some of the oils. But with the stall the falls switch technique, we're not gonna actually have that. We're gonna have a lot of the flavors and the oils pass through the filter unhindered by any of the grinds until towards the middle or the end of the actual extraction. That's why I think we get a rounder, sweeter, and kind of just a more gentle, mellow, but really great texture to this coffee. That's why this coffee is so amazing.
What's up, baby? I'm rich now. You see this new kitchen behind me? It's all because of you guys, all right? Thank you so much for buying Tails Coffee. Just make sure to keep doing it so I can come back next week. These are really expensive mortgage payments. Please, like, tailscoffee.com, buy anything. Anything you can, all right? Buy all of it. I can't give up this lifestyle. tailscoffee.com, discount code Candice for 15% off. See you next week.
Just before we get into the demo, there's a few things I want you guys to be looking for, and that's to make sure that you'll see that the water doesn't actually extract any of the coffee beans when we pour it in. Everything just kind of floats on top and it stays really clear When we stir, it's gonna take a little bit more time than usual. It's gonna take about 15 seconds to get all the grinds in, and we're gonna have a full extraction for 25 seconds before we hit the switch. Notice the quick rush and flow that comes out of the switch right as we turn the switch on, and that's gonna be where a lot of the oils and flavors are coming out of. Guys, so we're gonna zero this, we're gonna turn the timer off. We're gonna make sure the switch is on. I've already emptied out the water, paper's already rinsed. Let's just pour to 260. I've got myself boiling hot water in here, okay? This just came off boil, and that's because with this technique, obviously you're gonna lose a lot more heat to just it being so wide and up there, right? All right, we hit 260. We're gonna put the beans in. As you can see, nothing just flows. Nothing is falling down at all, okay? So 20 grams in here. Now we're gonna start the timer when we start our stir. So we're gonna stir and try to get everything down as quickly as possible. Here we go. And we're just going to now just gently stir and keep the flow until the 40-second mark. And once the 40-second mark hits, we're gonna hit the switch, let everything down. Now this is kind of important because this is when we're just trying to guide and make sure none of the grinds float and sink all the way down to the bottom. And that's because we want all the oils, all the flavors to be rushing out right away. 40 seconds, hit the switch. We're gonna give it a vigorous stir from here. And I can't even feel any of the grinds at the bottom yet. Do you guys see the insane rush at the beginning? That's how fast it is. This technique generally ends at about a minute 30, minute 40 kind of brew. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer because once it does sink, sometimes the grinds do clog the filter up, but don't worry, even with my most clogging kind of coffee bean, it only takes a maximum of 2 minutes. Very simple to do. Look at this, 1 minute, 25 seconds. Look at that, look at this shape. Ain't that beautiful, eh? Look at that, it's just gorgeous. The grinds are already gonna be fully extracted. You guys can just tell from like how saturated everything looks. So let's get right into tasting and talking about it. So now we're back on this side. Yes, I brewed 2 coffees for this video. One was a B-roll. So there's a coffee in here already, and I'm just gonna pour some for a video effect, guys, come on. But let me tell you guys, the texture and the oils floating on this coffee is just actually insane. There's significantly more than when I brew with a normal coffee. Even at 20 grams of beans to 300 grams of water, there's just a lot more oils. And that probably is because of what I said with how the oils and the water don't actually have to flow through so much grinds to be reabsorbed. But let's take a taste. It just feels so much like rounder, and it really coats the whole mouth. It leaves a great mouthfeel. It really reminds me of my siphon without any of like the complications of controlling the flame, making sure the water hits equilibrium. None of that mess, just a Hario switch, and we can still create such a great coffee. The 1 to 13 really hits home. It's because when you have rounder coffees, a tighter ratio brings out a ton more flavors without any imbalance. Now, normally with my normal single pour technique with less oils, you're gonna get a much sharper taste, which is still clean. It still has a little bit of that roundness to it, but it really doesn't have the same amount. So doing a 1 to 15 with a sharper taste makes a lot more sense because then you can hit a tea-like body. Now, you can really get these juicier textures, and that is definitely because of that roundness and all the oils left inside this cup of coffee. So for those of you that actually have a switch and can try this technique out, please give it a try. Let me know what you think of it. You could probably get away with something similar on the Clever. It's just that the Clever doesn't have the circular shape, so maybe it wouldn't work just as well, but do try it on the Clever. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this technique. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for the juiciest contents like this, and catch you guys in the next one. Bye.